Two-stroke.
Left is wild, right is wild.
I like that. I'm going down the hill climb. This thing feels really snappy off the low end for sure. This is the Sherco 300. First little ride, and I'm gonna take it up a hill climb. Should I just try the hard one? Well, relatively speaking. That suspension is nice, dude. This thing feels like it's sitting in a rail. The front just tracks super good. Full send.
How's it going, everybody? As you can see in today's video, we are testing out the Sherco 300 SE, and this is also the factory edition, so it has all of the bells and whistles. Shout out to my buddy Slow. He bought this bike brand new. It probably had less than 5 hours on it in this video, but this is not going to be an in-depth review. This is just my first take on this machine.
Oh, buddy! No! Dude, somebody's done that too. I know.
Now, the only real bike that I have to compare it to is my KTM 250 XCW, which is a 2018, so last year for the carbed model, which this Sherco is also carbureted. And first off, the biggest thing that I notice on this bike is the suspension is set up a lot more aggressively.
Oh, bud. I like it, man.
I didn't think that was that much different.
I know.
Yours is smooth coming in.
I think so.
That one, like, was almost aggressive.
Yeah. Definitely feel the vibes, man, right away. Does feel a little bit boggy. He hasn't messed with the jetting yet, so when it came from overseas, I have no idea what altitude it was jetted for. I think he plans on getting a smart carb for it. Yeah, this thing, like, my bike kind of feels like a 4-stroke the way it lugs, but this thing is just like, it almost sounds like a 4-stroke. It's so low. But this right here is a bike you will see in all the top enduro competitions. Nobody's on 250s for the most part. It's all 300s and bikes just like this. I gotta say, this seat is even worse than the KTM. There's a rump roaster right here. But I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit bummed out that I didn't find a 300, but I am slowly, not even slowly, I fell in love with that 250. It is plenty of power for me, and it still lugs like a champ on the low end. I did a little bit of cruising on DJ's Beta, and in the low end, dude, I don't want to say the KTM felt better, but I'm happy with it. I'll put it that way. I'm very happy with that bike, and honestly, with all the bikes that I've ridden today, I just look forward to getting back on that KTM, man. They nailed that bike, for sure. And also for the money, like, you just can't beat that. You can find them used.
I did stall this bike a few times at low speeds, and most likely that's just due to me not being familiar with the bike, but I do think the KTM does better in first gear at low speeds, most likely because of the XCW transmission, but I can definitely creep and crawl a little bit better with the KTM. But another thing I noticed on this bike, and Slow and I both agreed on, is it's just not set up to stand like the KTM is. I don't know what position the handlebars were in on the Sherco, but as a taller guy at 6'4", it was just a really awkward standing position. So throughout this video, I was sitting down a lot because I just wasn't comfortable yet. I'm sure I would get used to it over time, but for a taller guy, the KTM is definitely a lot nicer to stand up with. But for any experienced enduro riders that may be watching this, what are your thoughts on handlebar risers? I had thought about doing it on the KTM at first, but I've gotten really comfortable with it. And the biggest thing for me is I just don't want to mess up the handling and screw with the ergonomics by putting those risers on there.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I just want to get back on the KTM. I really do. And that's just not because it's my bike and I'm comfortable with it. I just like the way that thing feels. I really do. This Sherco, I know exactly what DJ is feeling now. Like when I rode his 300RR the other day, I didn't really notice it. I mean, it was just a little last minute before dark rip and Crocs have you, so I wasn't really getting on it. But there's still a lot of vibes, man. That counterbalancer does a world of difference. Hell yeah.
You have to remember that this is literally a brand new bike with all factory settings, so once he has it for a bit, gets his suspension set right, I'd like to ride it again because I'm sure it would feel a lot different. But it is definitely set up aggressive from the factory.
You gotta have respect, man, with the guy who has the $10,000 bike and gives praise to the KTM. Slow down.
No, yeah, I saw it coming. I was like, get off the bike.
Oh, shit.
Dude, I'm so glad I'm alright. Holy shit. That was like kind of fun, dude, when you fall and don't get hurt. Like.
Probably shouldn't try to start out in third gear.
Tom took a pretty good spill back there. You can see how far he landed away from his bike, but thankfully he landed the right way and we were able to get up and keep moving.
Try to get on this thing. Kind of hard when you're dealing with this. Rip this berm maybe. That was fun. Rip another one.
So this Sherco 300 and the Beta 300RR that DJ has are the only 300 two-strokes that I've ridden. Actually, I take that back. I rode an older 300 EXC that was loaded up really bad when I was riding it, so I can't really count that into the comparison, especially with all of the innovations in these modern bikes. I'm not experienced enough to really tell that big a difference between the Beta and the Sherco. I'll have to get some more seat time on them in the future, but this wasn't really supposed to be a comparison video, just my first thoughts on the Sherco, and so far so good. This thing is a tractor.
just got a phone call from Zach, and him and Marlo are left behind somewhere, and he didn't sound happy, so I hope they're both all right. I had to struggle to get my helmet back on, but we're flying back to make sure everything's good. I'm hoping it's just a bike issue.
Well, as you can hear, there's been an accident on the trails, so that's going to wrap up this first initial ride. I don't even want to say review of this Sherco 300 SE Factory Edition, so I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this bike. I tried to be pretty open-minded, but I'm starting to get biased towards that KTM. But make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications on so you don't miss out on the rest of this ride and future videos. And until tomorrow, I'll see you then.
Well, still no Marlo or Zach. Oh my God, what the hell happened to them?